I want to talk to you about practicing some of the lessons that come out of
Practice.
your trainings as well, right? I think that's
Oh,
part of the thing that blocks us from getting
yeah.
value as well, is not actually putting this stuff into practice. So this morning you posted about the importance of practicing on certain types of accounts.
Mhm.
Something I try and drive home as often as possible, try and facilitate role playing as often as possible.
Yeah.
I think you're taking it beyond role playing. What is your approach or your thought process on why reps don't practice enough, and how can leaders help get them to practice more often?
Yeah, we don't allow failure in sales. We don't give them room to try things. We
Mm,
practice on the fly. You know what I
right,
mean? Like
right.
this is literally the only profession that we go through boot camp and then go in and have to do our job. I mean,
Right.
think about a basketball player, right? Being like, all right, you got 30 days where you're going to learn how to play basketball, and then I'm going to put you on the court with Kobe, and you know what I mean, or whatever,
Staff or whatever.
LeBron,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It's like, what the fuck, right? So you got to go through the JV league, you got to go through the, you know what I mean, and
right,
you got to
right,
go on
right.
the courts outside and figure that stuff out. But you need to do it, in my opinion, in a real world scenario.
Okay.
I personally don't like role playing. I just don't. Because and the reason I don't like role playing is because I think it's done wrong for the most part.
Right.
It's
I agree.
usually this insanely it's either the most ridiculous scenario you've ever seen, which would probably never happen, or like the perfect scenario. And the trainer doing the role play is usually doing it because they're so fucking good at it. And it looks beautiful when they do it. It's like, oh my God, look at how great they are. But it's because they've done it a billion times before. And the reality of you being able to do that in a real world scenario is not high. Where role playing, I think, has an impact is right before you're about to do the thing. So for instance, if you're about to have a cold call blitz, yeah, right before that cold call blitz, let's do some role playing, just to get the juices going here. You know what I mean? And get the flow
Mhm.
down. But then practice, but consciously practice. And this is where, when I said what we do is we coach clients to break their accounts, tier one, tier two, tier three. Tier ones, those are the top 25. Those are the ones you follow on social. You're super customized with your approach to. You make sure you got your shit together when you make those calls. Tier twos, those are, you can do volume, right? You can be direct, maybe persona driven, that type of stuff, but they're
Mhm.
still decent accounts. Tier threes are the kind of crappy accounts. Now, I used to throw away crappy accounts. I used to be like, get away from me. You're bad
Why would I
customers
even waste my
anyways.
time?
I
Hmm.
don't even want to. Now I absolutely love them, because now anytime I'm trying something new, I rip a list of my tier threes and I throw up all over myself. Who cares? As long as I'm not saying anything offensive, I can kind of get to wherever I want to do. And a perfect example is pricing. A lot of reps have a challenge when talking about pricing because they're just not confident in talking about pricing.
Right.
So if you're not confident talking about pricing, the last thing you want to do is get in a conversation with a great prospect and deliver pricing like when they ask you and they say, "Well, how much is this?" And you're like, "Well, it's it's 10 grand, but it really depends on right? By the way, as soon as you say $10,000, but it really depends on, it's no
All they
longer
heard
ten
was
thousand.
10,000, and then it's discounted. Got you. Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
longer discount. It's no,
Yeah.
like, at me as the
You
buyer,
took away all the value of 10,000. You just dropped
right?
it. Yeah.
Well, and by the way, like if I'm a prospect of yours and you tell me 10,000, but I might have been talking to your competitors and I heard 20 grand, I heard 15 grand, I heard 30, and then you said 10. And I was like, good Lord, like that actually is reasonable. But as soon as the word but comes out of your mouth, I ain't paying 10 grand on that. You just gave me a discount before I even asked for it. What's going to happen if I ask for it? I could tell you
Notes, people,
incompetent in
take
this.
those notes. He's giving game away.
Right. So,
Hmm.
so what I want to do is I want to rip a list of my tier three accounts, actually get into deals with them. And when the pricing conversation comes up, I'm going to practice shutting the hell up after I say $10,000. So if Derek, you're like, hey, John, all right, goes, this looks decent, man, and whatever. So how much are we talking here? $10,000. And I'm just going to shut the hell up and be as awkward as all get up to see how that feels and see how you react.
Right. First one
Because
to
guess what?
speak
You're going to grab
loses, or
confidence.
losing
Because
isn't the right word, but the first one to speak, that
exactly. And
rule.
guess
Mhm.
what? There might be a person, you might be like, all right, John, send me over the contract. Guess what happens to my confidence when that happens? It goes through the
Mhm.
roof, right?
Now I
Or,
might be ready for those B's if I do that 10 times.
right?
Hmm.
Or you object. And guess what we're going to practice there, Derek? Objection
Rebuttals.
handling
Yeah.
techniques.
Hmm.
So Derek, help me understand here. $10,000 you say is too expensive, but you told me that earlier you missed your quota by 20% last year and your ACV is $50,000 and your target was 10 million. So back in napkin math here, man, that's like I don't know, I'm making up numbers here, but like that's like
I'm with you.
a $500,000 problem. Like that's like $1 million problem. And am I missing something? Like how, because what I tell people when I tell them my price, that's why to me, like the nuanced things of what you get in the sales process are going to help you with objection handling, because I sell to people who have ACVs of around my size, $20,000, $30,000. Because if I sell you, if you got $500, if your ACV is $500, it's going to be hard for me to justify you spending 20, 30 grand on training. Right. But if your ACV is 20, 30, 40, 50 G's, we are not having a conversation about pricing, Derek, because I'm going to say, wait, 50,000. So please look, let's stop talking about price here. It's not that we're too expensive. You just don't believe that my solution can solve your problem. That's what we're talking about here. Because you have $1 million problem. I'm telling you, I got a $10,000 solution for you. And so don't tell me I'm too expensive. Tell me you don't believe that I can do it. And that takes practice though. That confidence to be able to say that to somebody and be okay with them bailing on you and saying, piss off, I'm out of here. We all need to find that line between being direct and being rude. All of us. And guess what? You have to go over that line to figure out where it is. You know what I mean?
I do. 100%.
You want to get to be as direct as possible in the sales process without being rude. And that takes practice. That takes crossing that line. That takes getting a few people pissed off so you can kind of say, okay, here's where it is and here's my style. And once you practice down there, and then you start moving up. And because your confidence will grow and it'll get bigger and it'll get bigger. Right. But that's why I like practicing and being conscious of it, not just doing it haphazardly throughout the week because, we book time. This is going to be our tier 3 time. We're going to call into shitty accounts. We're going to, get shitty deals in our pipeline. We're going to do these things this week, that type of stuff.